joining us today. The mini tutorial today is regarding how to create part labels with barcodes in Sage Businessworks. The first step to create part labels is to start creating a custom report. So I'm going to go to the Inventory Control, Reports, Custom Reports. I'm going to select New and give my report a name. Click Next. I'm going to select IC Parts as my data source and click Next. I'm going to select the information that I actually want to appear on my labels. The first thing I'm going to select is the part ID, and then description line 1. You can add more description lines if you wish, but remember these are labels, so it is limited space. And then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to select IC Part Actual, Price 1, Amount 1. What you would want to select is whichever one of these price levels is your retail price. And then select Next. I'm going to sort this by part ID. I'm in the sample company, so I'm not going to select a filter for my report, but if you wanted to print labels for just a specific range of parts, you could do so by setting a filter. Once we've selected all of the information that we want to appear on our labels, we're going to click Design. I'm going to remove some of these other items that we don't need to look at. Okay, so the first thing that we're actually going to do, this looks just like a standard custom report, but we want to remove all of this information in the header. So I'm just going to lasso everything up here and click Delete. And then we want to actually make the header about as much space as you have on the top of whatever paper that you're using for your labels. So you want to look, before that first label starts, how much room is at the top of that sheet of paper. So in my example, it's about a ½ inch. And you want to do the same thing with the footer. After that very last label, how much room is at the bottom of that piece of paper? And this may take a few tries. You'll have to print out on white paper and test it, and then, make some minor adjustments along the way. Now we're going to make this into the 3-column format, which is typical for a standard sheet of labels. The standard sheet is 3 columns with 10 rows, so it's 30 labels per sheet. So we're going to go up to Form and Page Setup. Then under the Layout tab, we're going to select 3 columns. Now this gives you your column positions for column 1, column 2, and column 3. And we'll come back to that in a little bit so that I can explain how you can change these numbers if, for example, your column 2 information is printing just a little bit too far to the left or to the right, and so on for column 3 as well. Now I'm going to adjust the size of the actual label itself. I'm going to make it just a little bit larger. And again, you're going to need to run some tests on this just to make sure that all of the information is printing correctly within the label on your form. The best way to do this is get it as close as you think possible, and then print everything out on white paper, and then hold that up to your labels and see how it looks. And then what you can do is just make minor adjustments in order to get everything to print correctly within the labels. Then I'm going to go ahead and move some of these fields around where I want them. Make the description, or actually the ID, a little bit larger there. And then the description, we want to make that larger as well so the entire description will print. Now we're going to actually add the barcode to the form. To do this, we're going to select the barcode that's coming from the database. So if we hover over this, this is the DB barcode. We're going to select that, place it on our form, and then we need to tell it which of the pieces of information that we have added that we want the barcode to be. I'm going to say that I want the barcode to be the ID. Typically, it is the part ID that is the barcode. Okay. Now we need to configure our barcode. So we're going to right-click on the barcode and go to Configure. Now, this is dependent on what type of scanner that you're using, if you're actually going to be using these for scanning the information into your system. Now, typically, the scanners use a code 128. Also, while we're in this screen, just to let you know, if you're using this for addresses, the postnet would be that little tiny scanner that is underneath an address on an envelope that you receive from the post office. But again, because these are part labels, I'm going to set mine to a code 128 and then say OK. Now we're just going to make some fine adjustments to the barcode field itself. I'm going to stretch it to the right just to make sure that there's enough room if the barcode happens to be longer. Another thing to keep in mind is the longer your part ID, the longer the barcode is going to be. I also may want to make some changes to my dollar amount field. I'm going to right-click on the field and select Display Format. I'm going to select the dollar field that has the dollar sign because I want the dollar sign on my labels. Maybe I want this right justified. Okay. Now we're going to go to the Preview tab so that we can see how our labels are looking so far. They're looking okay, but one thing to keep in mind here is remember there's typically only 10 rows down, so we should only have 10 labels in each row. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's an easy way for us to know that we need to make some adjustments on the design screen so that we get just 10 labels, because that's going to be the first step on getting these as close as we can to print within the label field. So I'm going to go back to design. And what I'm going to do is actually make this a little bit larger and then go back to preview and see how many I have at that point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I still need to go just a little bit larger. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now I've gone a little bit too large. So as you can see, you have to make these adjustments little by little by little. Now, one thing that may make these fine adjustments a little bit easier is if you pull it too far down, that detail section, it's easier to make fine adjustments going up because you can watch the line as it's moving up. Okay, and we'll preview. We have 9 still. Go up just a little bit more. We now have 10. So this is going to be fairly close. Now again, you still may need to make some minor adjustments so that everything prints exactly within those labels. But to do that, you can just print it out on white paper and see what needs to be done so that you can make those adjustments. Now remember earlier when I was talking about going into page setup and into the layout, this is useful. Let's say that the first column looks great. The second column is printing just a little bit too far to the left or to the right. What this number is right here for column 2 is the starting position for column 2 is at the 280 character line. So if you need it to go a little bit farther to the right, you could change that maybe to 281 or 282. Or if you need it to go to the left, you could change it to 279 or 278. We recommend that you go in very small increments because it can make a very large difference. And then another thing to keep in mind is if you make column 2 going to 282, that's going to shift everything over to the right So you may need to look at it and then take a look at column 3 and make fine adjustments on column 3 as well. Thank you for joining us today for our mini tutorial on creating part labels with barcodes. You can come back at any time for more mini tutorials on common tasks in Sage Businessworks.